Welcome to the MLB Deeper Dive. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. I'm here with Adam Scherer. You can find him on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. And this show is sponsored by PrizePicks, which has daily prop-based contests. While you're coming in, please give us a like and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can keep up with all of our shows, DFS offers, giveaways, and much more. Once you subscribe, hit that notification button to get alerts when our shows go live. Adam, last year I had a pretty successful MLB season, and I feel like I saw you up at the top of the leaderboard all the time because I was looking at the top because I was close a lot. And this year I haven't really been close to the top of the MLB leaderboard, so I haven't been paying attention. How is your MLB season going so far?
I think it's actually going better than last year. Last year ended up kind of sucking for me, honestly. So it's been okay this year. It's been frustrating. I think I have like 2 second place finishes in the large field on DraftKings, a few more, top tens. So I haven't taken a tournament down yet. And obviously when you're playing large field tournaments, you kind of need to do that to win. Yep. So it's been pretty frustrating, but I haven't been upset with like my process or anything like that. I just haven't gotten first place yet.
Yeah, you've been close enough. Coming in second, I mean, what more can you hope for? You're right there. All right, we got a 6-game slate, if I'm counting these out right, today. And I have not checked. Have you seen any weather issues for this slate?
I have not.
I'm looking right now.
I'm refreshing now. It looks like we're good, I think.
Yeah, I think we are good. No real weather concerns. All right. I've been wondering, so I've been, with the scores not being as high as last year, I've been considering moving away from like 5-2, 5-3 builds to more like 4-4, 4-3 builds, just because I'm not sure if teams are putting up enough runs regularly to support 5 players putting up big fantasy point totals. Have you thought about reforming your stacks at all? Or, I mean, do you typically do 5-man stacks?
Yeah, I do. And I've been thinking about it too, but I actually think I'm leaning, at least, and I'm interested to hear your take on it. I'm leaning like the opposite direction, because when home runs were prevalent, particularly on DraftKings, because they're scoring weights home runs more, I was not completely convinced that in large field tournaments stacking was the optimal approach. I did it because I didn't have the balls to do anything else, but I wasn't completely convinced, because like you really needed all of those guys that were hitting 1 or 2 home runs, and the guys that get a double and an RBI didn't really matter. And when you 5-man stack, you would just kind of end up in the situation where, like one guy in your stack sucked and you're just really similar to all these other stacks. But this year, at least so far, with the home runs being down, I feel like stacking makes more sense, because you're not able to just like grab a bunch of one-offs. They're going to hit a home run and a double, because there's just not that many home runs on a given slate. You're more likely, like the teams that are scoring a lot of runs, it's because they're just piecing together hits, home run here or there, but RBI single, RBI double, stuff like that. So I almost think that the dead ball makes stacking actually make more sense to me than when they had the juice balls.
Yeah, that's a really interesting thought. I hadn't really thought about it that way, but I can see your point there. That might make some sense to stack more. And also there's just fewer teams putting up a ton of runs. So like if you can get just the one team that does put up a lot of runs, that's all you really need. So yeah, I can see your point there too. So I haven't moved away from 5-man stacks. I think I'm sticking to it anyway. So it sounds like we're on the same page, maybe for not entirely the same reason, but I follow the logic. That makes some sense to me. All right, let's get into the slate a little bit. We don't have a ton of games to talk about, so we don't need to speed through it, but we should get started anyway. We'll start with the New York Mets at Philadelphia Phillies. We've got Taijuan Walker on the mound for the Mets, going up against Aaron Nola for the Phillies. The Mets with a 3.8 run implied total, the Phillies with 4.7. Let's start with Taijuan Walker. Do you have any interest in Taijuan Walker going up against the Phillies?
Not a ton. I mean, it's a good offense. It's a difficult park to pitch in. His strikeout percentage this year is decent at about 21.5%. And we do have him being under-owned on DraftKings, but it's under-owned in the sense where he has the second lowest top 2 pitcher percentage ahead of only Spencer Watkins, but he's getting 1% ownership. So like if you just need a random, relatively cheap pitcher that does have some ability, does have some upside, then I think he's okay. But this isn't really a spot where I'm going out of my way to pick on Philadelphia. I mean, they have a good offense. I know there's been like people this year have been kind of frustrated with them because maybe they haven't been quite as good and quite as potent as they would like, but they've still been above average. They have like a 107 WRC plus, and just going by the names in this lineup, you know the track record they have. So I think if you wanted to get to Taijuan Walker, the selling points would be that his strikeout stuff is decent, and he's not getting much ownership. But other than that, I don't really have any sort of strong case for him.
What about the Phillies? Are you planning on playing any Philly stacks going up against Taijuan Walker?
Yeah, I do think Philly looks pretty good. Right now, we don't really have them being over-owned. Looking at the top stacks tool, we have Philadelphia with about a 12% chance of being the top stack, which is second on the slate, but only about 12% aggregate ownership because they are a little bit more expensive than some other teams, and because Minnesota, who's facing Spencer Watkins, is expected to get the bulk of the ownership, which, as a Baltimore fan, I understand. But Philadelphia here, like Walker's not a gas can, but his strikeout percentage this year is a little bit lower than you would expect it to be when he's fully healthy. And he's someone where I still don't know what to make of him. He's a former top prospect. He's shown flashes, but he's dealt with so many injuries in his career as well. And even last season, he was great out of the gate. He was very, very strong for a couple of months. Then it seemed like he kind of got banged up and just struggled down the stretch. Now this year, strikeout percentage is kind of average. He's just sort of been like an average pitcher. And so it makes a team like Philadelphia look pretty appealing to me because it's a deep lineup. You can stack it a bunch of different ways. So you're not even necessarily getting a ton of overlap with everyone else that stacks Philadelphia. Schwarber, Harper, Castellanos, Realmuto, Hoskins, all those guys can do a lot of damage. Alec Baum's pretty cheap, hitting second. Segura, Herrera, Camargo at the bottom of the order, certainly guys that are good enough you can include just to differentiate your lineup. So I think Philadelphia with a 4.7 implied run total, even though I do have some respect for Walker, even, given that, I think that they are a pretty appealing stack in tournaments.
Yeah, one of the highest team totals on the slate, so that makes sense. I got to say the changes to the top stacks tool and the top pitchers tool are throwing me off a little bit. I open up the top stacks tool and I see a bunch of pitcher names. I was thinking I was in the wrong spot, but no, we've just seen apparently some changes today to both of those tools. Some more information that I'm still getting used to. What about the other side of the game? So we've got Aaron Nola on the mound going up against the Mets. Nola with a 31.8% K rate looks pretty good. Any interest there?
In Nola, yeah. So, well, really in both sides, but starting with Nola, yeah, I think so. I mean, I think he had one ugly start at the beginning of the season. I don't remember. I just remember there being a slate where I wasn't really happy that I had him, but overall his numbers are still solid. He struck out like 31.8% of hitters so far this year, 2.49 xFIP. The only thing that's really hurt him is he's allowed 1.6 home runs per nine, but you have to keep in mind it's a small sample for that stat at this point. So I expect that to get back to normal. And he's someone that for years has been better at home than he has on the road anyway, which is kind of strange since Philadelphia is a favorable park for hitters. But pitchers, every mound is a little bit different. Pitchers still have their comfort zones. So Nola's been good in Philadelphia anyway. So I think that it's certainly a strong play. He's one of the better pitchers on the slate, but it is a relatively dangerous team as well. The Mets have a 118 WRC plus this year, and they just have a pretty solid lineup. So certainly happy to get to Aaron Nola, but I don't think that, it wouldn't be shocking if he struggled a little bit, just given how good the Mets offense has been.
Yeah. Nola's coming in at 51.8% ownership with a 28.3% chance of being a top two pitcher. Do you have any concerns about that high of ownership in a large field GPP? Is that something that with pitchers, you do a lot of curating your exposures based on these kind of numbers, or do you just kind of let them fall where they may?
I mean, I let them fall where they may. Obviously, it's concerning whenever anybody's 52% owned in a large field tournament, just because there is so much volatility in baseball. But the one thing that I think is worth mentioning is that Aaron Nola is only 8K, which honestly is just, I think, a mispricing. So that's one thing that, like, when we talk about the top stacks tool, the top pitchers tool, I know, at least for me, speaking for myself, I don't typically touch on the value component quite as much, but it does still matter when you talk about your lineup as a whole. Aaron Nola has one of the highest, top two value ratings, in addition to being having one of the highest top two just raw score, top two pitcher percentages. It's really, really easy to get to him. It's not like you have to sacrifice anything to get to an AK Nola. It's just a mispricing. So while I think he is over-owned in terms of just his chances of success versus his ownership, the fact that he's cheap means that you can get to some better bats also that, so maybe you can just find some bats that are low owned, pair them with Nola, and still be in good shape.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you do have some interest, at least, in the Mets, even though they're going up against Nola, always a dangerous lineup. How much interest do you have in playing the Mets against Nola?
Yeah, so I haven't crunched anything yet, but I'm actually expecting that I get a pretty healthy amount of Mets, at least the way things look right now, because they kind of check a lot of boxes here. For one, they themselves are projected to be underowned. We actually have them with the fourth highest top stack percentage at almost 10%, only 3% aggregate ownership. It's a very, very difficult matchup against Nola, but there are good hitters in this lineup. But then, like, the added bonus, in addition to the fact the Mets have been really good and they're projected to be underowned, the added bonus is that Aaron Nola is projected for 50% ownership on DraftKings, like 26 or 27% on FanDuel. So even though it's a relatively infrequent occurrence where the Mets have success against Nola because he is so good, when they do, it's really powerful because it's not just that you have this low-owned team that is scoring a bunch of runs, but it's also that 50% of the field just lost one of their pitchers, or on FanDuel, 25% of the field lost their only pitcher. So it's one of those, when you talk about, it's not so much about being right as often as you can, but getting paid when you are right. It's kind of amplified in a situation like this where Nola is going to get so much ownership, particularly on DraftKings. It's like, yeah, I expect more often than not, Nola is going to have a good game and the Mets are not going to be great. But I think I make a hell of a lot more money being on the Mets and they happen to do well than I do being on Nola when he does well.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, they look great in a vacuum in the top stacks tool, and then you add in the leverage going up against Nola, who everybody's owning. Makes a ton of sense there. And on the other side, I guess have we covered all sides of this game? Do you have anything else you want to say about this game?
Yeah, I think we covered it all.
Okay. Let's move on to my Minnesota Twins going up against your Baltimore Orioles. We got the Twins with a 4.4 run implied total, Orioles with 3.6. Chris Archer on the mound for the Twins going up against Spencer Watkins for the Orioles. Let's start with Chris Archer. Any interest there?
A little bit, just because he is facing Baltimore and they have been a really, really bad offense this year. I do think that you see the offense get a little bit better for the Orioles, just because at least, at the top of that order, like one through 5, you have solid hitters. Then you very quickly drop off with like Rougned Odor. But I don't think the lineup's quite as bad as it has been. But Archer, I think, is just one of those pitchers where it's a really, really big question mark. And he's only $5,800 on DraftKings. So we have him with the best top 2 value percentage. We have him, in the middle of the pack in terms of top 2 pitcher percentage, and still only pulling 12% ownership. He hasn't been very good so far this year, and he has dealt with plenty of injuries in recent seasons. So you can't be very confident in him, but I think the salary accounts for that. He has a 21% strikeout percentage so far this year, which is okay, but it's nowhere near what you would like for Chris Archer. The bigger issue is that he's walking 13.5% of hitters. He has a 4.89 xFIP. He's allowed 1.75 home runs per 9. He's always been a relatively high walk guy, but now it seems like there's a legitimate chance that he's kind of just washed, and now he's a high walk guy that can't locate and gives up home runs, but also doesn't strike guys out. So I think he's extremely risky, but at that price point, I'm still interested.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Looks great in the top pitchers tool. As you mentioned, coming in under-owned, and then in terms of top 2 value, he is the highest on the board, so way under-owned from that perspective. So a lot of reason to get to Chris Archer. Being an Orioles fan, does that make you more or less likely to get to Orioles stacks?
I don't even look at what I play before lock, so it doesn't matter.
That's helpful. No bias. Yeah. Are you going to be playing some Orioles stacks? I guess you don't know yet because you haven't crunched, but do you expect to play some Orioles stacks today?
Yeah, I do know that they made it into my tournament plays video for FanDuel specifically earlier. But on DraftKings, they look like they're getting a little bit more ownership, 7% chance of being the top stack, 10% ownership, because we do have them with the second best top value percentage behind Minnesota on the other side of this game. So I think it's kind of site dependent for me. Like, looking at those numbers, I could see where maybe I get to a little bit less Baltimore, a little bit more Archer on DraftKings, and then a little bit more Baltimore, a little bit less Archer on FanDuel. But I do think it's a high upside spot, just given Archer's struggles this year and the fact that we don't really know what he is as a pitcher at this point. Like, I kind of try and think of it in the sense of, we're at the beginning of May now, so baseball's been going on for like a month. And so I kind of just try and like step back and think of it like, 2 months from now in July, do I think that it's super likely that we look back and laugh that Chris Archer was 5,800 and not like the highest owned pitcher on the slate? Or do we look back and laugh that the Orioles were really cheap and not that popular? And I really have no idea. Like, I have no idea. Chris Archer could be back to his normal self and be really good by July, or he could just be out of Major League Baseball. Like, I don't know. So I really think that Both sides of this matchup have a lot of upside, but I would rather just target it on the sites where like the respective side is lower owned.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And you mentioned you don't really use the top value column as much in looking at your stacks or your pitchers. I use them a little bit more, I think, than you do. And he looks like he has negative leverage. Archer has negative leverage at 10.3% ownership, 7.3%. No, I'm getting so thrown off by this new format. I am looking at Baltimore. Okay, I'm where I want to be. The Orioles have a 10.3% ownership, 7.3% top stack odds, but then 18.1% top value odds. So they look good from a value perspective. I factor that in a little bit just because, maybe you play the cheap Orioles bats against Archer and they allow you to get into, some better lineups overall. So I factor that in a little bit, even though I think, obviously top stack odds is the number one thing that we're looking at.
Yeah. And to be clear, I do too. It's just like, it's more of a natural thing for me because the lineups that have the most value are going to project the best. And the teams that I play, like projection is part of what I'm looking at. So I would say more like on shows, at least I'm guilty of not talking a ton about the value aspect because, a lot of it, like especially with hitters in baseball, like point per dollar value isn't really a thing just because of how scoring works and distributions and all of that. So I'm like not great about pointing out value in general, but I do think that the fact that they are really good values explains why their ownership percentage is a little bit higher than their top stack percentage. And just like I was saying with Nola, it does matter. Like if it means when you're playing the Orioles, it means that you can get up to, the pitchers that you really want, or you can get these really good one-offs. So you're still talking about your lineup as a whole. You don't want to just say like, oh, the Orioles are overowned, I'm not playing the Orioles. You can still make some really good lineups around their stack.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about the other side of the game? Do you have any interest at all in Spencer Watkins going up against the Twins?
Absolutely not.
Okay, I assumed that was going to be the case, but figured I should ask anyway. What about on the other side then? If you don't like Spencer Watkins, do you have interest in the Twins?
I mean, yeah, but they're also projected to be the highest owned team on the slate. They have a 4.7 implied run total in Baltimore. Watkins is not very good at all. No Arias for Minnesota. He has COVID along with Dylan Bundy, who pitched last night, but still a pretty potent lineup here. Byron Buxton's been absolutely fantastic. One thing that I think is really interesting about Watkins is typically I don't want to buy too much into reverse splits since most pitchers over a larger sample just don't have them. But since last year, Watkins has been semi-decent against left-handed pitching, and he does rely very heavily on a cutter, a curveball, and a changeup as his primary secondary pitches. Those are all pitches that actually work a little bit better against opposite-handed hitters, and he doesn't have anything that is remotely good against right-handed hitters. He throws his slider a little bit more against righties, but it's not a good pitch. He doesn't throw it a lot. So I don't think it's particularly surprising that since last year, he's struck out 16.5% of lefties compared to 10% of righties. He's allowed a 171 ISO to lefties compared to 317 to righties, and he's allowed a 313 WOBA to lefties compared to 443 to righties. So I'm not saying not to play the lefties against Watkins. Like obviously, you can still play Polanco, Kepler, Trevor Larnach's cheap, but it makes me really, really like Byron Buxton and Carlos Correa.
Yeah, me too. A lot of interest in the Twins. I wish that the ownership would come down so I could really jam them in. But yeah, they have just negative leverage. So typically the way that I build, I'm probably going to be coming in well underweight on the Twins, projected for 28.3% ownership on the stack with 15.5% top stack odds, 19.7% top value odds. That's a spot where I'm going to be coming in under the field. Do you ever look at this kind of thing and just full fade a team looking at stats like this where they're just way overowned?
It kind of depends on what else I can do with the rest of the team. If I can get a team like Minnesota that clearly looks very good, and there's a couple of pitchers that are just getting no ownership that I can pair with them and, hope to win there. That'll happen sometimes, but typically it's a little bit more difficult for me to do that because stacks are taking up, half of your roster spots. So it gets kind of difficult to differentiate around it. Whereas, if you have overowned pitchers, it's still pretty easy to differentiate within the rest of your lineup.
Okay. Anything else you want to say about this game before we move on?
Nope.
All right, buckle in. I've got a long promo to read. All right, we're going to do the Luka promo. To start May off right, we have launched one of our best offers of the year for new Awesemo Plus users. Get $7 for a full 7 days of Awesemo Plus Platinum. That's 77% of our usual weekly price when you use promo code Luka, Luka, Luka. at checkout, or simply just click the link in the video description below to claim your 7 for 7 right now. This will give you access to everything we have to offer for every DFS sport, including player projections, ownership projections, our NBA boom bust tool, lineup builders, and so much more. With NBA winding down, if you're looking to get started with MLB DFS, then this is a great opportunity to take advantage. We also have our all new F1 projections, USFL, tennis, soccer, almost any DFS sport out there. We have some tools for it to help give you that edge. That's $7 for 7 days of Awesemo Plus Platinum with promo code Luca, or just click that link below to activate. Again, this offer is for new Awesemo Plus users only. Please note that Fantasy Cruncher is an add-on and can easily be added with these packages at checkout, but is not included in our base packages, nor are the high-stakes NBA DFS ownership projections for the playoffs, which were recently released. Stop guessing, start winning. Join Awesemo Plus today. Okay, that was a mouthful. Let's move on to the Detroit Tigers at the Houston Astros. Tigers with a 3.7 run implied total, Astros 4.8. We've got Tariq Skubal on the mound going up against Jose Urquidy. Do you have any interest in Tariq Skubal for the Tigers going up against the Astros?
Yeah, because he's not getting much ownership here. I think that it's a tough matchup, but he's only 6,500, 16% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, about 8% projected ownership. Skubal struck out 22.7% of hitters this year. He's only walked 3.4%, 2.7 xFIP, one of the top pitching prospects in baseball. So at that price and ownership, I am interested because I feel pretty comfortable saying that I think at this point in their respective careers, Tariq Skubal is a better pitcher than Chris Archer. The matchup is certainly more difficult, but he can give you, he has the potential to rack up a massive game just based on his stuff, even in difficult matchups.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. He's looking pretty good today, just a little bit too cheap and has the upside. So I'm going to get to some Skubal as well. What about the other side of it? He's a young pitcher. Do you have any interest in the Astros and their 4.8 run implied total?
Yeah, I think both sides of it make sense. It's an offense that certainly has plenty of power. I do respect Skubal as a pitcher. I think that he's good and all of that. But 4.8 implied run total when you have Altuve, Bregman, Gurriel, Tucker, Alvarez, Brantley, all of these guys are just really good. And then there's some speed in the lineup as well. It just makes for a very high upside stack. Right now, they are projected to go a little bit over-owned, but not by a crazy amount, and they are relatively inexpensive as well. So I do like both sides of this one.
Yeah, me too. I think I'll be playing all sides. I mean, I play most sides of every game, but
Right.
yeah, this definitely looks like a pretty solid game.
Yeah, and Skubal has, going back to last year, Skubal's had some power issues against righties in particular. 242 ISO, 263 expected ISO. In the limited sample this year, a .092 actual ISO, but still a 191 expected ISO to right-handed hitters. So does seem to have some home run regression or power regression coming this year. And then, if you go back to last year and look at the whole sample overall, there is plenty of upside for right-handed bats here.
Yeah, the only downside is the leverage in the top stacks tool, currently coming in at 14% ownership, 10.7% top stack odds, 9.6% top value odds. So that's the downside to playing Houston, but the upside is everything Adam mentioned. They look good. They're a solid team, and maybe they've got some righty power on the way. What about the other side of the game? We've got Jose Urquidy on the mound for Houston. Are you going to be playing any Urquidy up against the Tigers?
I think he's decent. In tournaments, certainly not anything I'll be looking to in cash. He is cheap. He made it into my tournament plays video on FanDuel for pitching just because he is so cheap. Strikeout stuff hasn't really been there this year, only about 15%. He's getting 26% ownership on DraftKings at 7,800. And I get it because the Tigers have struggled this year, but the Tigers are another team kind of like the Orioles where I don't expect them to be a great offense, but I don't think they're quite as bad as their numbers suggest so far this season. When you look at the track record that some of these guys have, Grossman, Baez, Meadows all have been, solid hitters in the major leagues. Miggy, of course, on the back end of his career. Torkelson, number 1 overall pick. He actually moved down in the lineup today. Akil Baddoo moved up to the top. So it's not the deepest lineup, but at least from the top through the middle, there are some, still quality hitters in this lineup. So I don't think they're going to be quite as bad as they have been. Urquidy hasn't been great either so far this season. He's only struck out about 15% of hitters. xFIP at 4.63, 1.8 home runs per 9. So I don't have a ton of confidence there. But I do think at a cheap price tag, he makes some sense. It's just on DraftKings where he's getting 26% ownership right now. I don't really understand why he's at 26% at 7,800. And then Skubal is at 1/3 of that. Archer is at half of that. Michaelis is at 1/4 of that. If that holds, I'm going to end up using some of those guys instead of Urquidy.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you say that you think that the Detroit lineup might be getting a little bit better. Do you have any interest in playing the Tigers going against Urquidy?
Not a ton. I mean, I think that they're projected to go a little bit underowned, but nothing too crazy. Oh, actually, I was looking at the wrong column. They are expected to go a little bit more underowned than I thought. I was looking at their team total, not the top stack percentage. But
you're getting thrown off too. All right.
Yeah, I don't love the lineup they're running out there today. I don't like that Torkelson's hitting 8th. It's just like I like using him in stacks because he's cheap and we know he has some power upside. But I do like that Akil Baddoo is leading off. He has some power. Like Baddoo, Grossman, Baez, Meadows. That like foursome I think is a pretty solid grouping, and then you just throw in one of Miggy, Candelario, Torkelson, something like that. So not something I expect to get tons of, but they are projected to go on their own.
Yeah, just based on the top stacks tool, they look really good, coming in at 3.8% ownership with a 9% chance to be the top stack, 9.4% to be the top value stack. So they look great in the top stacks tool, but as Adam said, not the most imposing lineup in the world. It's not one that you're really you're thinking you're going to get a ton of home runs out of. So maybe not quite the upside that you're hoping for there. Anything else to say about this game before we move on?
No, I don't think so.
All right, let's move on to the Tampa Bay Rays at the Seattle Mariners. We've got Shane McClanahan on the mound for the Rays and Robbie Ray on the mound for the Mariners. The Rays have a 3.7 run implied total. The Mariners 3.3. Let's start with Shane McClanahan. Any interest there?
Oh, absolutely. He's getting a lot of ownership, but I think that it's warranted. On DraftKings, he's projected for 32% ownership with a 33% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. On FanDuel, 16% ownership, 14% chance of being the top pitcher. He's been absolutely fantastic to start this season. 39.3% strikeout percentage, 1.59 xFIP, only walking 6.5% of hitters. The Mariners offensively have been solid, but to me, McClanahan looks like the top guy on the slate.
Yeah, it's not that often that you see the top pitcher with the top 2 pitcher odds having positive leverage. That's just a very rare thing. It's like those guys always go over-owned. This is the rare circumstance where McClanahan's actually coming in. I mean, it's very neutral, 32.3% ownership to 33.1% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. So, but I'll take advantage of that. If you can get him at any kind of leverage, if he's not majorly over-owned, I have interest as well. So McClanahan looking great. What about on the other side of it? I mean, you're going to be playing McClanahan. I'm guessing nobody's going to be playing Seattle either. Do you have any interest in the Mariners today?
Not a ton. Like you can make a case for them, and the case is simply that people are going to play McClanahan and nobody's playing Seattle. Right now, we have them with the lowest aggregate ownership on the entire slate on DraftKings at 1%, but we also have them with the lowest top stack percentage at 3%. So it's a situation where, like, yeah, technically they are under-owned, and you do get some leverage on the field because of McClanahan's ownership, but they're still just so unlikely to come through that it's tough for me to have a large portion of my night revolving around them. It's something where I do think that people have different styles in MLB. Like I know Sean Zahn, who does a lot of stuff for us behind the scenes, is the number one guy that comes to mind over the years that just like played the most contrarian style. And it was like anytime the top pitcher on a slate had a bad game, you just knew that Sean Zahn was going to have like 20 teams in the top 30. But it really, I think, has to be, you have to like embrace that style. You can't go in on most slates, like unless there's just a case where you think the field is wrong, but like you can't, I don't think you can really like pick and choose. You're just either going to like have massive swings and be jamming teams like Seattle all season long, or you're going to accept that, you're not going to play that contrarian. And for me, like, I think, for example, that the Mets just look a little bit better than Seattle does. And so I'm more willing, if I'm going to take a contrarian approach like that, I'm more willing to get to the Mets side than the Seattle side, given the fact that neither team is getting much ownership.
Yeah, I had that conversation with Terry yesterday. It's all about opportunity cost. Seattle looks good in a vacuum. It's probably plus EV to be playing over the field in your Seattle lineups, but it's also plus EV to be going over the field in the Mets lineups, and they just have much better chance of being the top stack. So it's any Seattle stack you're playing, you're not going to be playing a Mets stack. So that's the opportunity cost you have to give up. Yeah, it's different styles of play. I typically spread out more, and I'll probably get to some Seattle, probably get over the field, but that's because the field is at 1.2%. I'm not going to be trying to play 10% of Seattle and giving up all of that opportunity cost, but I'll take some stabs and get over the field. Whereas other people just focus on 5 spots that they think there's positive leverage and they have reasonable top stack odds, and it's all about your style of play.
Yeah, and it's I mean, I agree with you. Like, if you just have like an unlimited bankroll and you played every slate where like tonight you were just like, I'm making Met stacks, I'm making Seattle stacks, and I'm not doing anything else. Like, you probably make money by the end of a season. But also you're going to go through some insane downswings where like you're just not cashing at all for like weeks.
Yep. Yeah, and that's no fun, which is why I spread it out a lot. So I'll be playing some of the chalkier lineups, and then a lot of the less chalky lineups as well, which kind of helps with that somewhat. But yeah, it's definitely can lead to some downswings for sure. What about Robbie Ray for Seattle? Do you have any interest there?
Yeah, I mean, high strikeout or good strikeout pitcher. Hasn't been as good as McClanahan this year. Actually, hasn't been as good as a lot of people this year. He's only at 20. He only has a 20.8% strikeout percentage, 4.25 xFIP. But the salary has come down a bit as well. $8,800 going up against Tampa Bay. We have him with the second highest top two pitcher percentage. We do have him going a little bit over owned, but not as much as somebody like Nola, who again does offer more value as well. But I do have interest in Ray. I'm not going to write off Robbie Ray's strikeout numbers, based on 4 starts or 5 starts, whatever it's been this year. We know that he's, going back to last year, been an excellent strikeout pitcher. And, since the start of last year, 30.5% strikeout percentage to righties, 30.7% to lefties. This year, again, those numbers have dropped off a lot, but I'm not ready to just write off Robbie Ray. So I do have some interest in tournaments, but the ownership is there as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Robbie Ray actually doesn't look that bad in the top pitchers tool either. Like I said, a lot of times these pitchers that are at the high end of the top 2 pitcher odds come in way over-owned. And today we just don't have any of that. I mean, he's coming in a little bit over-owned at 33.4% ownership with a 28.4% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. But, that's really relative to a lot of slates. He's not coming in that over-owned. So I think it makes sense to, play Robbie Ray if he fits into your lineup. What about on the other side of it? I mean, we've got the Rays are always a dangerous lineup. Obviously not your favorite matchup in the world, but Robbie Ray, he struggles at times. Do you have any interest in playing the Rays today?
Yeah, I think that, Ray has always given up power. This year, he's not striking guys out. He's still giving up power. 207 expected ISO to right-handed hitters this year. Waiting for it to load, but I think it's like 190 or something since last year. He's always been somebody that you can hit home runs off of, and there is right-handed power in Tampa Bay's lineup. Wander Franco, Rosarena, Yandy Diaz. We don't have their lineup yet, but assuming those guys are all in the lineup, even like mini stacking or taking one-offs, I think makes some sense with those guys.
Yeah, totally. Anything else that you want to say about this game before we move on?
I don't think so.
All right, before we move on to the next game, let me tell you about our sponsor, PrizePicks. PrizePicks offers daily prop-based contests. You can use promo code Awesemo, that's AWESEMO, for a $100 first match deposit bonus. No sharks, optimizers, or mass entries. 5-player lineups can net up to 10x your entry fee. Use your knowledge of multiple sports with cross-sport entries. Download in the App Store, on Google Play, or play on prizepicks.com. Use our free player prop tool to help you make the best selections. Get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up using the link in the description of this video and make a deposit at PrizePicks. You will receive an email within 24 to 48 hours after to redeem your free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. All right, let's move on to the Miami Marlins at the San Diego Padres. This game is a pick'em. Both teams have a 3.5 run implied total. We've got Jesus Luzardo on the mound for Miami and Nick Martinez on the mound for San Diego. Let's start with Luzardo. Any interest in playing him going up against the Padres?
Yeah, he's been great so far this year. The matchup against the Padres isn't ideal. It kind of feels like the theme for this slate is like the bad pitchers are facing the bad teams and the good pitchers are facing good teams for the most part. But that's the case here. And with Luzardo, I think he's really interesting because the thing you have to keep in mind is he was one of the top pitching prospects in baseball going into last season. He really, really struggled with Oakland, ended up being sent over to Miami as part of I think it was the Starling Marte trade. Kind of started to put stuff together a little bit with Miami. And then this year he's come out of the gate pitching really, really well. 34% strikeout percentage, 2.69 xFIP. The only thing that has been a bit of a concern is that he's walked 11% of hitters, but other than that, the strikeout stuff has been there. And so I do think there's a really high ceiling on him, and the salary is still affordable. $8,500 on DraftKings. He's getting some ownership at 22%, but that's still like half of the ownership Aaron Nola is getting for $500 less. It's like 2/3 of the ownership that Robbie Ray is getting for $300 more. So I don't really think that, just speaking from an upside standpoint, I don't think Luzardo's ceiling is all that different from guys like Nola or Ray. Certainly he's less of a proven commodity than those guys, but I'm very interested in him in tournaments as long as the ownership stays where it is.
Yeah, the ownership is pretty reasonable at 22%, 19% chance of being one of the top two pitchers, looking good right in between Nola and Ray in terms of salary. So yeah, I'll be definitely getting to some Luzardo as well. What about the Padres? Do you have any interest in high upside stack going up against Luzardo?
I think they're fine. I mean, they're a solid offense. Obviously, they'd look better if they had Tatis, but right now we have them with a 5% chance of being the top stack, 4% aggregate ownership. It just kind of seems like a team that I'm gonna have a hard time getting much of, just because they're not doing a ton for me. Like Luzardo's getting some ownership, but not as much as several other pitchers. The Padres are under owned, but not as much as some other teams. They're the second least likely team to be the top scoring stack. So I do have a little bit of trouble getting to the Padres. I think it's more likely that, maybe I just mix them in as 3-mans or 2-mans, get into some Austin Nola, Manny Machado, stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe calling them high upside is a little bit of an overstatement without Tatis in the lineup. They don't have quite as many strong bats there. What about on the other side of the game? We've got Nick Martinez going up against the Marlins. Are you going to be playing any Nick Martinez today?
He's kind of intriguing just because, like, he's another one that is just not really a known commodity at this point. He was in the majors like 4 years ago. He sucked. He went to Japan, supposedly figured stuff out. Now he's back in the majors. So far, he's mostly sucked again. 20.7% strikeout percentage, 14% walk percentage, 4.6 xFIP, 2.29 home runs per nine. I don't hate the idea of going to him in tournaments, but the thing that I think is going to keep me from doing it too much, and we do have him projected to be quite a bit under owned, but I think that Skubal being as low owned as he is, Archer being low owned, there's already cheap guys that I can get to that I am more confident in than Nick Martinez.
Do you have a preference between Nick Martinez and Taijuan Walker, who's just $200 more?
I think I would lean Martinez just because of the matchup.
Yeah, I think just based on the top pitchers tool, which is the primary thing I look at, Walker's coming in at 1% ownership and Martinez 3.8%. So he's coming in a little bit higher owned, but he's also got 14.6% chance of being a top two pitcher relative to Walker's 8.6%, 19.6% chance of being a top two value pitcher relative to Walker's 11.1%. So I think I slightly lean Martinez as well, but it's pretty close. They both have some positive leverage there, so decent enough spots for both of them. On the other side of the game, do you have any interest in playing the Marlins?
Yeah, I'm pretty interested in Miami here just because Martinez previously in the majors wasn't any good, and so far this year he hasn't been either. Through his first handful of starts, he's allowed a 306 actual ISO and a 360 expected ISO to righties. To lefties, he's allowed a 270 actual ISO, 220 expected ISO. And the Marlins actually haven't been a horrible offense this year. They have the 9th best WRC plus so far. 140 ISO isn't great, but given the lack of power in baseball, it's still decent. They do have a inflated 24% strikeout percentage, but there's power in this lineup. Jazz Chisholm, I think, really stands out. We know that he's a very good hitter and is likely to be at the top of this lineup, but he's also expensive. But moving beyond him, Aguilar, Soler, Sanchez, Cooper, Avisail Garcia, any of these guys can do damage if Nick Martinez is kind of not, like, if he's not improved enough to really be a major league pitcher. Like, any of these guys are good enough hitters that they can do damage here. The Marlins as a stack right now, about an 8% chance of being the top stack, about 8% aggregate ownership. I do like getting to them against Martinez.
Yeah. I've got an NL only dynasty league in which I have Jazz Chisholm, I've got Ozzie Albies, I've got Dansby Swanson, I've got just an amazing team this year, but I missed the draft. I just didn't check my email in time to see when the draft came up. And for some reason, ESPN drafted all shitty players for me. So I had all these amazing keepers and now I've got all these shitty players in my lineup. So it kind of really makes me sad when I hear about Ozzie Albies, Jazz Chisholm, these guys, how well they're doing. And I just can't take advantage of it because the rest of my lineup just sucks. Anything else you want to say about this game before we move on to the Awesemo Hall of Fame segment?
No, I think that's it.
All right, let's do the Awesemo Hall of Fame. Starting out, I guess I should tell you about the Hall of Fame. Download the Awesemo profile pic at awesemo.com/avatar and tweet your wins to @Awesemo Hall of Fame to participate, and you can win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Just like Barry Watts, who says he finally found a fun way to watch baseball. Thanks to all the Awesemo baseball guys. He won $3,796, winning first place in a 20 max, the four-seamer on DraftKings. Screen name Jaded11. Way to go, Barry. Congrats on that big win. Michael P. Clement Thanks for the great tools, best in the business. Won $10,000 on FanDuel, it looks like, putting up a big score in the MLB squeeze. Congrats to Michael. Jerry, aka Jersey Guy 7676, thinks he got the wrong logo. It looks right to me. I think that's a good enough Awesemo logo you got in there. It might be the same one that I use. He says he's going to switch it out. But either way, won $2,000 in the Minimax, taking first place in the Minimax. That is really impressive. I know there's a ton of people in the Minimax. I never really played it, but some people have run the numbers, and it kind of seems that the Minimax might be harder to win than the main contest most days. So congrats to Jerry for taking down first and $2,000 in the Minimax. Moving on to Rozo Music. If you know me, you know I've been hustling at this DFS-ish for a good minute. Last night I pulled off a 10x, placing 6 and a couple more spots. Thanks, gang. Thanking the Awesemo NBA guys. He won $635 off of a $20 entry. Congrats, Rozo Music. Well done there. Then we've got John Church, Lincoln Hawk 29. In MLB, turned $3 into $100. Thanks for the great content. Yeah, great job taking, looks like first place. I can't see what he placed. Anyway, great job, John Church, turning $3 into $100. Looks like you placed really well in that contest. Congrats there. And then finally, Jim Lipinski got his first takedown. Won the Supercuts Fantasy Super Series for $375. Way to go, Jim Lipinski. Great job there. That's it for the Awesemo Hall of Fame today. All right, on to the next final game before we can talk about some favorite stacks, favorite pitchers on this slate. We've got the St. Louis Cardinals at the San Francisco Giants. Miles Mikolas on the mound for the Cardinals, going up against Mauricio Lovera, who I don't know much about. He has not played a whole lot in the majors, but we'll start with the Miles Mikolas side of the game. Do you have any interest in Miles Mikolas going up against the San Francisco Giants?
Yeah, if he's going to continue just not pulling much ownership. Mikolas has never been a great strikeout pitcher, but he's also been pretty good at just limiting damage, limiting hard contact. You have him in the most favorable pitcher's park in baseball. The Giants are basically a league average offense to this point in the season with a 102 WRC plus. So like I wouldn't be going crazy to get to Mikolas if ownership were higher, but I don't totally understand why, for example, on DraftKings, Mikolas is getting 7% ownership, Urquidy's getting 26%. Luzardo's getting 22. At least in the case of Luzardo, you can point to the strikeout stuff and say, you know, when Luzardo is good, like if Luzardo is good and Mikolas is good, Luzardo is much better than Mikolas. But with Urquidy, it's like, yeah, the matchup against Detroit's better, but I don't really understand the ownership difference there. So definitely going to be paying attention to ownership. You know, if we get an ownership update and Mikolas's ownership comes up quite a bit, then obviously I'll feel a little bit differently because it's not like he's a great strikeout guy or anything, but doesn't walk a lot of guys, has a 21.5% strikeout percentage, 3.46 xFIP so far this season. As things look right now, I'm certainly happy to get to Mikolas and take my chances in San Francisco.
Yeah, I really like that comparison to Urquidy and Luzardo because he's coming in right between the two of them in terms of salary. Urquidy at 7,800, Mikolas at 8,200, and then Luzardo at 8,500. And they all have within 1.1% in terms of top two pitcher odds, with Luzardo leading at 19.1, Urquidy at 18.4, and then Mikolas at 18. So very close in terms of top two pitcher odds. But then, as you said, Luzardo, 22% ownership, Urquidy, 26% ownership, and then Mikolas all the way down at 7% ownership. That's definitely a spot that I will be targeting. I'd like to get well above the field on Mikolas in a great matchup. Not a great matchup. San Francisco bats are pretty strong, but in a great ballpark and, you know, a solid pitcher. So I'm with you. I'm definitely going to be getting above the field on Miles Mikolas. I also ran a 500 crunch, just put in some setting in there just to get an idea of how much I get of players. With a 30% cap on my pitchers, I end up with 16% of Mikolas. So getting above the field naturally. I might even force it up to be a little bit higher there. What about the other side of the game? Going up against the Giants, they've been a pretty dangerous team this year. Do you have any interest in Giant stacks?
Not too much here. Just, well, if Mikolas isn't going to get ownership, then not too much, because you're kind of just taking a team with a 3.8 implied run total against a pitcher who is just solid at preventing damage. And you're basically just saying like, okay, I'm going to bet that the Giants are the highest scoring team on the slate, which sure, they could be. But to me, it's just easier to win tournaments by saying like getting some sort of negative leverage with the field. or a team that is just very likely to be the highest scoring team. Whereas the Giants, they're not right now, at least they're not giving you any real negative leverage. They're one of the lowest probability teams. Yeah, they're going a little bit under owned, but if I'm going to take a low probability team, I would much rather it be against a pitcher that is popular than one that isn't. So as it looks right now, I have a hard time getting to the Giants here. If Michaelis's ownership were to come up to around 20%, which I wouldn't be surprised if it does. I still just don't understand why the ownership projection is so low on him. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that come up between now and lock. If it does, I'd be a little bit more interested in the Giants.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm on the other side of this one. I think I'd be, just because I really use the top stacks tool, I think more than most do. And just based on the top stacks tool, they have positive leverage coming in at, as you said, 2.4% ownership. So they are just under owned, 2.4% ownership with a 5.7% chance of being the top stack, 5.2% chance of being a top value stack. Michaelis is a solid pitcher, but it's not like he's one of the best pitchers in the game. So I think I'm going to be above the field, at least on San Francisco. It doesn't mean I'm going to be playing 20%, like forcing them into my lineups, but I like them based on them being over-owned. So I think I have a little bit more interest than you do there. What about the other side of the game? We've got Mauricio Lovera coming in. He has not pitched a ton, so his numbers look okay with it. I mean, they look great with a 33.3% strikeout rate, 1.51 expected ERA, and a 1 WHIP, but that's in 4 relief appearances, so you can generally expect those numbers to be better. Do you have any interest in Lovera as a starting pitcher going up against the Cardinals?
No, I'm not expecting him to go deep into this game. He's made 3 appearances this year. He's gone an inning in each of them, 17, 11, and 18 pitches. It seems like Harlan Garcia is expected to be the long guy, but he also hasn't thrown more than 23 pitches in an outing yet this year. So it seems like it might just kind of be some sort of a true bullpen game for the Giants. And obviously, even though they're 4K, I'm not looking to chase that.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page there. No reason that we really need to be going to Lovera. What about the other side of the game? I mean, if it's a bullpen game, does that hurt your expectation any? I mean, you don't really know what to expect, and they can kind of mix and match, and they can find matchups that they like. Does that make you like the Cardinals less, the fact that they're going up against a bullpen game?
Yeah, it used to be like if you got into bullpens early, it was a good thing. Now it's just like, cool, you're facing a different pitcher that probably throws 100 miles an hour for the entire game. So it does make it tough, and the ballpark's not great either. Right now, the ownership is about where it should be. 6% chance of being the top stack for St. Louis, about 4% ownership. So a little bit under owned, but nothing crazy there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really want to target low owned pitchers. I don't want to target bats against low owned pitchers in San Francisco typically, unless it's like just a situation where I think the pitcher is extremely bad. And I don't really think that's the case here, since you're just going to get multiple arms from San Francisco.
Yeah, it really makes it tough to really want to target St. Louis here, just because it is a bullpen game. They have positive leverage in the top stack still, so that is your reason to play them, coming in at 3.8% ownership, 5.6% top stack odds. So you can give them some shots there. They're just coming in a little bit under owned, but it does make it tough when you don't really know who they are going to be facing. Anything else that you want to say about this game? This is our last game, so we can take some questions.
So, I don't even have like a specific bat or two that I really like, because it's kind of you're getting different pitchers for San Francisco, so it's tough to point to like one specific guy on the Cardinals and say like, oh, I really like the matchup for him. And then from the San Francisco side, I mean, I guess like Crawford or Jock Peterson would be the top 2 guys, but it's not like I love either guy.
Okay. Usually I'm on here whenever I host. So far it's been with Terry, and Terry is a little bit more long-winded than you are. So we usually get to like 3 minutes left, and we still have a couple games left. This is new to me, having
Terry probably also looks at this stuff more than once every 2 weeks.
That is true. Terry has a good understanding of all of the games. I mean, I think that you do a pretty good job of it too. It sounds like you have a pretty good understanding of the stats you want to look at and stuff too. But it's a different world talking with somebody who we finish up early. But that means we can just talk about our favorite pitchers and favorite stacks. So let's start on FanDuel. Do you have a favorite pitcher on FanDuel for a large field GPP? Say a single entry. If you're playing a single entry, who's your pitcher on FanDuel that you go to first?
If I can get to him, McClanahan. Otherwise, it's probably McClanahan.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, just look at it. He has the highest top pitcher odds, and although he has slight negative leverage, he has less negative leverage than the guys right behind him, and Robbie Ray and Aaron Nola. They're both coming in higher owned than he is, with worse odds of being the top pitcher. So I think McClanahan.
If, If I can't get there, I would say like Michaelis or Luzardo, but they're really not that much less expensive.
Yeah, that's true. They don't they're not much easier to get to. So yeah, I think McClanahan
One
makes a
thing
lot
I
of
will
sense.
comment on, I just saw in chat, because I know this was a thing that like I used to look at a lot, and I've stopped, or I don't do it as much. But like, somebody mentioned that he doesn't know. Jace Peters said he doesn't know how Nola makes it through 6 innings. He looked at the pitch mix and the hitters, are good against it, whatever. The thing you have to keep in mind with that, Aaron Nola's stuff is not the same as the average stuff. Like, you can't just look and say, oh, the Mets hit curveballs well, and say they're going to hit Aaron Nola's curveball well, because Aaron Nola's stuff is just better. So, again, I'm on the Mets. I'm not saying that, but that is like the huge trap that I think people fall into with looking at pitch mix, is you're just looking at average stuff and not what the opposing pitcher has. Like, you can take Aaron Nola's a top tier starter in Major League Baseball. So just knowing that the Mets hit breaking stuff well doesn't do you a whole lot of good when you're talking about his stuff specifically.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for your confidence in me, Jordan Klein. I see in the comments, Larry's asking if I'm being asked to expand this thing, take it longer, and Jordan's giving me confidence that he knows that I just need to keep talking. And I do appreciate Terry's offer to come in here and just monologue for 10 minutes. That might be helpful, Terry, but I think we can make it. We can go for another 9 minutes. We got plenty to talk about here. Adam and I don't get to talk baseball very often. I like your call of Shane McClanahan. I think that's probably where I would go to Jose Urquidy at 6,800. I have some interest in there just because he's 6,800 and he's only coming in at 12.8% ownership with a 10.2% chance of being the top 2 pitcher on FanDuel. Let's stick with FanDuel and move on to top stacks. Who is your favorite stack if you're just playing a single entry on FanDuel? Where's the first place you go?
Let me pull that one up. I mean, I don't know if I would do it in single entry, but the Mets just seem really good. There's like nothing else that really looks great to me. Like, I think it would be either Houston, Philadelphia, or the Mets.
Okay.
Kind of depending on like what I'm doing with pitching or what I'm doing with a secondary stack, because Houston and Philadelphia look a little bit underowned, but not nearly as much as Minnesota. And in single entry, especially if you're talking like higher stakes single entry, you just get even more ownership going to that top team. So like, if we're projecting Minnesota to be like 25% owned in large field, in like single entry, and especially in higher stakes single entry, you're probably looking more at like 40-45%. And so it makes it so like that gap is even bigger between them and teams like Houston and Philadelphia, which makes Houston and Philadelphia look a little bit better. And then if you really were just trying to max leverage the hell out of it, then the Mets.
Yeah, I think the Mets to me are the first place that I would go. I think you're right that typically just I don't play a lot of single entry, but that is what I've gathered in the bit that I play. Just like the highest owned teams go even higher owned, so it makes a lot of sense. Usually, when I'm looking for a single entry team, I'm looking for a team that has a reasonably high top stack odds that also has reasonable positive leverage, and you don't get many better spots in the Mets here. Obviously, they're facing Aaron Nola, so that's the downside to playing the Mets. But 3.2% ownership with a 9.7% top stack odds, that would be the first place that I would go on FanDuel. Let's switch it over to DraftKings. You have one pitcher in a single entry. Where's the first pitcher you go to, or if you want to give 2, you could give 2 also, because you do have to choose 2 on DraftKings.
Yeah, so I still think McClanahan at the top. The way ownership looks right now, probably Michaelis, but I do like Luzardo as well. And just to, I guess, clarify again on that Nola and Mets thing, because now Jace Peters seems confused how I like Nola and the Mets. DFS isn't about who you like or who you think's going to do well or any of this stuff. It's about putting yourself in a position to win when things go your way. Nola, I like Nola in the sense that he's a very good pitcher and he's going to have a good game more often than he's not. Everybody's also playing Nola. So as a result, I like the Mets because when the Mets do well, you're going to make a lot of money because Nola's going to suck and 50% of the field's going to die, or on FanDuel, 25% is going to die. So like if DFS was a game where I got to just like say, do I pick Aaron Nola or do I pick the Mets? And you give me even money on either one, I'm taking Nola every time. But that's not how this game works. And so that's the no, I didn't contradict myself. You are confused.
No.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he did not contradict himself. That's you look for high leverage spots, high variance spots in DFS typically, and I like to attack both sides all the time in football and baseball. Every sport you find just high variance spots, and I mean this is one of the spots where you can find spots that you can attack both sides. Obviously, you can't do that as much in the NBA, but I mean, you can even in the NBA, I guess. Like with if you don't know which center is going to get more minutes, sometimes that's a high variance spot. And I'll play both centers. I won't play them in the same lineup, but two centers from the same team, and it's the same kind of situation. You're just nobody knows what's going to happen here, but things can go very right in one direction or the other. So why not take both? I don't like Adam saying he's going to play them in the same lineup. And we're talking about a portfolio of lineups where he's going to be taking the Mets and some, Nola and others, and it totally makes a lot of sense. So he's still saying it's a contradiction. I don't think you're getting it, Chase. No. But we'll move on. It's a good way to waste some time talking about this concept that I guess we're struggling with here. So you like Miles Michaelis? Any other pitchers for a DraftKings single entry that you have some interest in?
Yeah, mention Michaelis. If you needed to go cheap, I mean, Archer and Skubal, I have no issue getting to them. Like, I wouldn't feel great about it, but I wouldn't be shocked, like, with the way things look right now. Like, in my 2K lineup, I wouldn't be shocked if I ended up with, like, Skubal in there and just hope for the best.
Yeah.
I had Bradish yesterday. I wouldn't feel any worse about Skubal.
Yeah, he seems like a reasonable play today. Eric Lindquist, yes, you are maybe correct that I will have a Surly beer today. I do. I'm going to be pitching at my softball game. Little story about Surly. I had some friends of mine from the East Coast in town a few years back, and one of them informed me, we went to this Surly brewery, informed me that whenever he hears the word Surly, he thinks of me before noon. One of my former roommates told me that he thinks of me before noon when he hears the word Surly, which kind of surprised me. I don't think of myself as being a really surly guy even in the morning, but maybe I come across that way. I definitely do not like mornings. Anything else that anybody wants to talk about? Any questions from the chat while we've got 3 more minutes with Adam here before he goes back to the NBA streets? Miguel McDonald wants to know if you took the Booker over.
Yeah, no, I answered him. In Maryland, they haven't rolled out, like, they rolled out sports betting, but you have to be in the casino still. So I still don't bet sports. I didn't even know how Booker ended up. I stopped paying attention pretty early in last night's slate.
Yeah, actually, I think it was the same way. I went to DC a few weeks back, and I could not bet anywhere I was, but I think there were like specific hotspots where you could bet in DC. Is it the same thing? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I know that they have a casino in Capital One Arena now, where like the Caps and the Wizards play. I don't know if they've rolled out like online sports betting or not. I know Maryland was supposed to have it out before last NFL season, and they still don't have it out.
Okay. Are you playing any golf today, Adam?
No, I totally forgot. And I'm going, well, if it doesn't get rained out, I'm going on Saturday. So I'm pretty pissed that I forgot. But yeah, I woke up this morning and saw, like I got on Twitter and saw like the tweets about who was doing well and stuff. I was like, oh shit, I forgot to play.
I mean, there's more edge in Golf Showdown anywhere. I don't play it typically, but that is what I've gathered just from I guess Jesse's rants on Twitter.
Yeah,
seems like people overreact.
I hate all Showdown.
You hate all Showdown? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I love NFL Showdown, and I guess that's about it. I don't enjoy NBA Showdown just because I don't feel like there's any edge. I have not gotten into Golf Showdown, but I kind of feel like I will at some point. But yeah, it seems like there should be edge there. So you could play that if you want something to cheer for while you're at the game.
Yeah.
WSS, is there a pitcher that you are going to be most exposed to today?
I mean, without crunching, I don't want to. Like, definitely not gospel. My guess would be McClanahan.
Yeah, I think that it's probably if I had to choose someone just based on what we know, McClanahan is probably the one that I would choose to be most exposed to. My guess is I'll put a cap. I typically put a cap on my pitchers, probably put it at 40% today. I might actually bump McClanahan's up to 50%. So my guess is that I would be most exposed to McClanahan as well. All right, Adam, any plans tonight for Cinco de Mayo?
Not sure. Might just there's like a taco spot down like a block from, or less than a block from me. Might just head down there, but not sure.
All right. Before we go, Sandra Montoya just reminded me we could do some home run picks. Do you have any a home run pick that you want to make today?
I feel like I did during the Chisholm.
All right, Chisholm. That's a good pick. Man, my whole screen just froze.
I feel like Buxton's cheating, but him too.
Yeah, I won't go with Buxton. I mean, as long as we're picking some Mets, I'll go with Pete Alonso. Is that cheating? Is Pete Alonso cheating? All right.
No, not against
I'm going.
Not
against Aaron Nola. Yeah, that's a reasonable pick. All right, I'm going Pete Alonso. All right, that's our picks. It is 4:45, which means that this show is over, and we've got another show coming up. We've got MLB Live Before Lock coming up next. Please remember to give us a like and subscribe to the channel on your way out. Thanks for watching. Eric Lindquist and Gundacker coming up next.
Like at a church or just like
no, like in my house. It was like
your house.
Yeah.
What a time to be alive.
I just figured God wanted me to go hang out.
It's a really good place.
In prison.
If somebody steals something out of a Bible. I don't know. All right, I guess there's really no way to go other than just start the show, huh? Welcome, everybody. And now, here's what I did. I went full screen on my view in Zoom. And so now I can't get it out of foot. There we go. Welcome, everybody, to the MLB Live Before Lock show. You'd think with the intermission in between, the couple extra minutes, I'd get everything figured out, but I did not. Oh, hi, I'm Eric Lindquist. Excited to be talking the 6-game MLB for the second time today. This is the third show we've had for this 6-gamer. That makes it pretty special because there aren't many times in baseball while NBA is still going on that we're going to have 3 shows dedicated, but that's just kind of the people that we are here at Awesemo.com. Excited for this slate and the guy that I'm going to be breaking it down with. That is Gundacker. He is right now avoiding vortexes, floods. Nothing can stop him now. He's all the way up. It's Gundacker. How you doing, my dude?
Okay, Eric. Let me find out.
See what I did there? Yeah.
Right. So you still don't get a plate at the barbecue, but you're working on it. What's up, man? It's the calm during or after the storm. Luckily, I didn't lose power, but I must live like on a grid with a hospital because I never lose power, but I'm always worried that it will, and everyone else does. So shout out to electric.
Yeah, the zombie apocalypse, we're all heading to Gun's house because nothing is shutting down. We'll be able to watch. We'll be able to get our cassette tapes to work when we're sitting in remedial spots. Randall Grichuk, bomb. That's useful for me in Showdown. But either way, man, it's been a weird day. Have you been missing the NBA a little bit? Is there a part of you? I know you're a baseball diehard, but there's got to be a part of you that's missing the NBA today.
Not at all. No, I love baseball. Baseball is so much better. It's not even funny.
Okay, good talk. Glad we had it. Hit the like button, please, everybody. Hit the subscribe button, notification bell for the greatest sport in Gundacker's life. It's top 5 for me, for sure. I just love my baseball. I really, really do. There's no doubt about it. But my Twins are on this slate, and I have a major problem ahead of me regarding them. Conflict of interest, if you will, Gun. Conflict of interest. We'll dig right into it. We have a sidebar. It's a little bit different here because normally on some of these Live Before Lock shows, we'll be covering the slates for the first time, or it'll be the first show in a long time. We go position by position, starting with the pitchers. Long time since Gun and I have done the shows in this format, but we got plenty of time here before Lock. You ready to dive in, my dude?
Yeah, let's do it.
And Jordan Klein behind producing. He's okay, I guess. Let's talk about the pitchers here on this slate. Nothing's really changed for me. I still love Shane McClanahan. He is the apple of my eye on today's slate. Find it impossible that at 9,700 on DK and 10-1 on FanDuel that I still won't make way for him. I don't find it to be that cost prohibitive to get up to him. I find it pretty easy to build with some value bats. There aren't a ton of stacks like a Coors, even though they've had really depreciated prices throughout the season, but we don't have a Yankees stack where everybody in the outfield is going to be over 5K like Judge Stanton, stuff of that nature. I think it's pretty easy to play a lot of him. Who is your favorite pitcher to get to on this slate?
Yeah, it's Shane McClanahan from McClanahan's Auto Parts, bro. We got him with the Haze and the Hose. Easily SP1. And that's undisputed for me. So I'll hang my hat on McClanahan tonight.
Yeah, the southpaw. He seems to be pretty good, and this is a spot going up against Seattle where Seattle's got some improved righty bats. There's no doubt about it. But you get Julio Rodriguez in this lineup. Great, promising rookie. Striking out a lot this season. 34.7% strikeout percentage. You get Suarez. You get some of those guys on the back half of this lineup. There are going to be some freebies there to go along with some tougher spots here in JP Crawford, Ty France. But I think looking at McClanahan's arsenal, it just elevates everything. 39.3% K percentage this season. Sign me up for all of that you got. I'm glad we're on the same page there. That makes it easy. As we move down the board, though, is where it gets a little bit murkier for me. We see Aaron Nola very, very negatively leveraged in the top pitchers tool. Robbie Ray, a little bit of negative leverage, not the same Robbie Ray possibly of last year. Greg pointed out his walk rate this morning. No doubt that that's a problem. I also just point to the hard hit percentage continuing to be what it's been. When he does get hit up, he gets tuned up. 4.00 xERA. It's only a little bit worse than last season, 3.60 expected ERA. but 2.84 actual ERA last season. I think that's kind of the real crown jewel of his career so far last season. How do you feel about Robbie Ray, Aaron Nola? Who are you landing on the most next up on the board?
My number 2 for me so far in ownership is going to be Aaron Nola, especially on DraftKings. Just AK, he's not an AK pitcher. Like if we open up this slate and he's 9,500, nobody blinks an eye because he's Aaron Nola. So I'm gonna take a shot on him, giving us a soft landing at AK. So I have him as my SP2. Ray is in the conversation as SP2B, but I have more Nola than Robbie Ray right now. But yes, those would be the next 2 behind McClanahan in my personal ownerships.
It's one of those things, Gun, where it's really hard on a 6-game slate to say, I'm going to just fade Aaron Nola, or I'm going to do something of this nature. I'm not fading an Aaron Nola on DK. I just want to be much, much lower to the field on his 48.4% ownership. I think that there's enough stacks I do have interest in, and man, the Mets are definitely one of them, considering Nola's getting 50% ownership there. And then Robbie Ray against Tampa Bay. I have a lot of Tampa Bay interest just because I think those stacks are going to go a little bit underutilized. If you had to pick one, though, to play on FanDuel, to rule them all, one lineup to rule them all, one lineup to find them, which one do you want? Which pitcher are you going to go with that isn't Shane McClanahan?
Probably, man, that's tough. The Rays lineup was a little bit different than I was expecting. I'm still not looking like there's a ton of strikeout potential, but there is at least half the lineup that'll give us 1 and 4. So maybe if I had to split hairs, I'd go Robbie Ray, but that's not a snap call.
All right, that's fair. I just really, really like this spot for somebody a little bit further down the board, and that's making it easier for me to go a little bit below on Aaron Nola, Robbie Ray, no doubt about it. And his name is Jesus Luzardo. And I talked about him this morning quite at length. And, hopefully you guys are able to check out some of the stuff we do for the MLB strategy show in the mornings. Makes you a little bit more equipped when we come onto these MLB Live Before Lock shows. But talk quite a bit about what we're seeing out of Jesus Luzardo, 34.1% K percentage. What happens when some players switch teams, and we've seen this with the Giants quite a bit, is that they just remove certain pitches that aren't serving the pitcher, and it just clears up their mind, clears up their abilities a little bit more. And my God, Miami is doing the right stuff with him. He went from throwing his curveball 28.6% of the time last season. It is now being thrown 44.2% of the time. It is an A+ pitch. It is phenomenal, especially considering he's locating it pretty well. He's getting the swings and misses you would expect on a curveball, throwing his 4-seamer more of the time as well, up from 25% to 31.6% of the time through the first couple starts. And that sinker and that changeup have been completely removed for the most part from his arsenal, throwing them combined under 25% of the time. I have a lot of hope for Jesus Luzardo really figuring things out a way that he didn't necessarily figure out in Oakland. I think Miami's really done well with some of these young pitchers that they built, whether it's Rogers, who's slumping at times, but Luzardo, he is phenomenal. Are you as high on him today against this Padres lineup as I am?
No.
Good talk. All of that for that. Wow.
I think I definitely think he's 4th on my board. 4th or 5th for him and Urquidy.
He's 12th on my board.
Oh, what?
Just kidding.
Okay.
Just kidding.
Him and Urquidy are kind of holding hands for me. I agree with much of everything you just said. Nothing you said is wrong. I think he can be a strikeout guy. And his strikeout rate so far is showing us, but there are some batted ball metrics that have me a little concerned. And if we isolate, and it's a small sample size, it's a short season, but if we focus on what he's done to righties so far, he has a 31% line drive rate allowed. That's not what you want. The ground ball rate dips to just 30%. And the hard contact rate's over 41% with the high pull rate. So this looks like a great spot for Manny Machado to stay high. And I'm still waiting on that line. I'm still waiting on that lineup to come out. But if they throw Nola at the top and it looks the right way, I might get into a couple of these sub stacks for the Padres. Now, I'm not really going to be that confident going 5 deep with the Padres. But Machado is actually one of my favorite plays on the slate. Looking at those, the batted ball data is combining. But I don't think you're off base to want to play Luzardo, but you are higher fundamentally than I am on him than I am.
Yeah, it's one bat. I think there's a couple of guys where we can talk about that. Sean V brought up Cedric Mullins against Chris Archer earlier on the last show. And I'm like, dude, it's one batter at a certain point. You can work around things if you need to. Manny Machado, no doubt about it. 15.6% hard hit percentage, 496 expected slugging. Another nice start to the season for him. But you look at Hosmer from the left side. You look at Cronenworth up in that order from the left side. Matt Beattie, pretty neutralized against lefties. Jerks and Profar, both sides of the plate, but primarily going to be a guy that isn't going to hit the ball very hard. And I've been higher on him this season than in the past, just because we saw some really good hard hit data out of him earlier in the season, but that's regressed down to around 30.3% now. I just feel pretty confident that he's a guy that I want to be firmly overweight to on both DraftKings and FanDuel, making a lot of lineups. No NBA in our lives today, so it makes it pretty easy for me to look at Luzardo as a guy that I'm going to kind of hang my hat on. 6,800 on DraftKings.com. Really the only guy from the cheap end outside of a little bit of, 6,800 on FanDuel. You've got, what is the number? 8,500 on DraftKings, but FanDuel specifically. I think Luzardo might be pretty sneaky. 5th best top pitcher odds. I'm going to have a lot of him. Best of luck to me in that regard. And, I don't mind mixing some Machado in there. Let's go scrape the bottom of the barrel, shall we? We've got Tariq Skubal. We've got guys like Taijuan Walker, if you are so bold as to do that. I am a pretty big stan when it comes to Tariq Skubal for DFS purposes. Hasn't been there in K percentage this season, but anybody else sub 7K on DraftKings and then on FanDuel in that 7K range that is sticking out to you?
Nah, I looking into Skubal a little bit more earlier, like I could see a world where he's underpriced, but it's just a matchup that doesn't make you feel good. And I'm staying away, hoping that he's not optimal, but he would probably be the cheapest guy. Maybe there's a world where Archer taps into an Orioles team that strikes out, top 3 in the league, but I'm not getting that cute or not pinching that many pennies in my constructions tonight. I like to go pretty big on the great pitchers when we do get them offered. So I'm going super heavy on McClanahan and then just kind of spin the wheel, make a deal with Robbie Ray and Aaron Nola.
I'm with you. McClanahan is just a stud. And if he's going to be lesser owned than Nola, Ray on DraftKings, that's just a guy that I'm going to be over invested in as well. If you had to, I'm going to force you to roster one SP2 that is going to be on that bottom end. If you had to make a case for somebody sub 8K on DraftKings, who is it?
It's probably Skubal.
Okay.
Probably Skubal.
Yeah. The 2021 numbers, just as far as that K percentage, it's intriguing. He gives up some hard hits. He's not been the guy that you would want this season. I said, I really hope it's not like a Chris Sale situation where all of a sudden he just wants to pitch to contact out of the middle of nowhere. That would be terrible because everything I like about Skubal is his ability to generate whiffs. 22.7% this year is not as good. Walks are way down, 3.4%, even though he's been pretty good for a career, around a 7% walk percentage, run of the mill, better than expected. So I'm all right going to some Skubal down there as well. Anything else to touch on before we move on to our stacks?
No, I think we covered all the basics. Obviously, we know that the Giants game got flipped on its head. The opener pitched yesterday, so I'm expecting a full bullpen game there. So we're just staying away from that.
Oh boy, yeah. St. Louis won. Yepez Dispenser. It is time. Batting 5th. 9 homers in 22 AAA games so far this season. That was crazy. And then 2 doubles first time out. We'll get there. I'm excited to talk about that. Also, have you ever been here for the Miami Mike bit?
I have not, but I feel like a single mother trying to get through college right now. He's pouring it on us and with the super chat. Shout out to Mike.
My God, this is like unbelievable what just occurred. All right, so here you go. You ready?
Hello, Gundacker.
Oh.
I have spared your life in order to give superb MLB DFS advice. If you do not come and give me the great DFS advice, I'm going to get there to Texas. We will have to drink out of your back patio as many White Claws until you are sitting in a gutter, in the rain, in the sleet, in the snow.
What's just happened?
Do you watch Saw ever?
I mean,
it's the Saw voice. That's the voice. It's the bit.
How do we move along?
Okay, so $70 was really nice of Mike, and I had to give it all the attention that I possibly could. It's so great. The Saw voice. I mean, that's what it comes down to. He's got Jigsaw for the avatar. Yes, bad Eric Milakar. I'm aware. Doesn't work for me here either. It's funny. I enjoy it. Okay, I'll give you guys a freebie. You ready? Well, it's actually not free. It's $7, but it's pretty great. It's promo code Luca. Hey, now we're back on track. $7 for 7 full days of Awesemo Plus Platinum. 77% off the weekly price. That is just $7 to get everything we offer behind the paywall. We have MLB in full swing, literally. We have PGA going on nonstop. Even if I don't get my lineups in today and I'm running a train that is a 0 with Paul Casey in it, you guys will have all the tools and content to be able to upload lineups in time like a good person. You have F1 projections, USFL, esports, everything, niche sports. You are covered for everything that we possibly need. So check it out. $7 for 7 days of Awesemo Plus Platinum. This is a joke. This is like the best promotion I can remember us running in a very, very long time. It's not just one sport where you're putting $1 or $2 into everything. It's everything behind the paywall. If you want the top stacks tool or the top pitchers tool to play along at home, as we're talking about it right now, sign up, use promo code Luca, get in there, take advantage of it, stop guessing, start winning, and join us at Awesemo Plus today. All right, to the stacks. Have you recovered over there? Are you okay? Are you okay?
I have to call my mom.
Okay. He was doing a bit. It was scary. To the top of the top stacks tool, Minnesota. I said I have a conundrum. I have a personal issue, if you will, because I love my Minnesota Twins. I'm going to watch this game when we're done. Yeah. I'm going to put it on. Am I going to be cheering for or against the Minnesota Twins? We shall see here in the next 33 minutes, because something tells me I have to just do what I normally do, and I undercut these really, really popular teams. What are you planning to do with my Minnesota Twins?
So it looks like the ownership has come down a little bit, not much. 26%, though, is pretty high on a small slate like this. So it creates a real simple way to be different than the majority of the field and hope that, Rake is covered by the twin stack flopping on its face. They're obviously over-owned. There's negative leverage. Anytime negative leverage gets to near minus 10%, just like, why not? You're just holding hands with the field anyway. So my approach was to fade that, and I've been able to kind of talk myself into thinking that what we know about Spencer Watkins is not what we know about Spencer Watkins. Games.
What did you just say?
What? Oh, no.
What we know about Spencer Watkins is not what we know about Spencer Watkins. He spells his name with 2 S's. Spencer with 2 S's.
Isn't there a Netflix show called Spencer Confidential or something like that? And it's the same way. I don't know.
It's just funny. Continue on.
Anyway, the 3 games back, Spencer Watkins debuted his slider. And in 2 of the 3 games since then, he's used that slider 25% and 32%. Not that it's an elite pitch, but now he's a 5-pitch pitcher. And one of the constants since he's debuted this pitch is his ground ball rate has spiked to over 50%. So if we get a 30% on stack against what could be a 50+% ground ball pitcher and what's becoming a frustrating park to attack out there in Camden, I can justify looking the other way here and that's what I mean by what we know about what Watkins kind of changes on small sample size, but it does change nonetheless. So I am kind of using that as a way to just completely fade the Twins. I'll let the Polancos and the Buxtons fall where they might, but for the most part, I'm willing to just take let the field have the negative leverage and move forward.
Yeah. It's going to be tough for me to get on the Twins the way that I want to. I'm going to play some Buxton one-offs and some 5-2-1s on DK. I'm primarily playing DK today. Looking over at the FanDuel slate as well. I mean, this is just a very, very popular baseball team. And in DFS, when you run into Coors Field spots like this, I'm always usually of the mind that you're better off in the long run avoiding holding hands with a quarter of the field. Like, you're just almost always better off with that. Now, it was a 13-game slate the other night, and I jammed 150 Coors stacks because it seemed like both had decent enough leverage. One was just insanely cheap, Washington, and you were able to play all the top pitchers, which I thought would all smash, they all did, but every pitcher cheap smashed too. So it didn't really matter to that extent, but Washington went completely bonkers and saved my night from being a disaster. And Colorado was positively leveraged everywhere. This is a 6-gamer where it is very hard for me to imagine on DraftKings or FanDuel, any team that's going to get 25% ownership, I'm going to get remotely close to it. I've undercut them. I've capped every Twins batter at 10% outside of 15% Byron Buxton. And he's going to be much, much more popular as a one-off than that. So I'm going to be sweating it here. That is for damn sure. We're starting to get some lineups in for the late games too here. We saw Miami come through San Diego. I'm going to update some of that here as we go, see what kind of came out of the wash here. Who's your favorite non-twin stacks? Obviously, we're both, of the mind that it's a good team to stack, but neither of us are really going to get there in a meaningful way because they're so overowned. Who is your favorite top stack to get to on the board today?
Let's see. My highest owned stack is the Phillies.
Okay.
Against Taijuan Walker. And then I have a decent chunk of Padres and Mariners as my second and third highest owned stacks.
Okay.
But that was, predestined, I guess. Now that we have lineups out, I might adjust that, but that's what I had before those lineups came out. And then I also do like the Marlins as well.
I like the Marlins a lot. I'm with you on the Marlins. I think that's going to be a team I get to a lot. I think my favorite stack to get to just above the field nonstop is the Mets. I'm playing so many Mets today. It's kind of absurd. Aaron Nola, 49.5% ownership right now on DK. He's going to be in half the lineups that exist on DraftKings.com, but I'm going to be coming in with a massive amount of Mets bats, a massive amount of Miami bats, and a massive amount of Houston. I think Houston is pretty unavoidable, even against my boy Scooble. I think that I want to play a lot of those left on lefts. You get Kyle Tucker with reduced ownership. You get Yordan Alvarez. It doesn't matter what your name is. Yordan Alvarez is just going to hit the ball far. That's going to be what happens. What?
Was that a reference? I didn't get that.
I was like, that was The Rock. Are you kidding me?
Well, how do you link that to Yordan Alvarez?
Shut up, B word. I didn't want to say bitch to you because that'd be mean.
I would. Oh, no. Okay. We're just doing random rock. No, that's fine. That's okay. We are. I just didn't know that was the vibes.
That was, what do you think? It doesn't matter what your name is.
I know that The Rock says that, but I thought you tied it in with like a name, like somebody's name was Dwayne or something. Like,
No, it didn't matter what his name is. Tariq Skubal. It doesn't matter who you are. Left on left. Saying that lefty matchups don't matter to me with Yordan Alvarez. That's what we're getting at.
Okay. Okay.
Do you have your screen up?
I do.
Do it again, Jordan. Just do it again. Do it again. Quick. Just for him. Just for him. 27 minutes. WS, $2. That was great, by the way. It actually said that WSS great.
Oh, the Yoda.
But I think it's was.
Listen here, man.
Baby Yoda. Grogu. It's Grogu. Look at that. Oh.
Chat. This dude, I'm guessing you're full-fledged Star Wars nerd.
Star Wars nerd. Through and through.
Okay. And I don't hate Star Wars. I don't hate it. I just never watched it and it doesn't interest me. So when I see these, like, I don't know, every year people are hitting me with these puns that I don't get.
It's because everybody calls you the evil empire. You're biased against it. Oh.
I'm not biased against it. We adopted it. Anyway.
Oh.
Okay. Listen here. All right.
Okay.
I know Star Wars because of the Family Guy parody and Fortnite. It's
pretty funny. And Fortnite. I was going to say Fortnite's a good reason to probably know them here too. All right. We're back to it, everybody here. Philadelphia, I like them. Mets, I like them. I think that they both make a lot of sense for this slate. So I think Philadelphia. Who's your favorite batter to get to? If I'm not going to be full stacking them, let's say I'm building out some lineups by hand, because I have one guy who just got moved up in the order, and I've been talking about him for weeks and weeks and weeks. Who's your favorite batter from the Philly lineup as a one-off?
Schwarber.
Oh, it's Alec Bohm. Alec Bohm. Just give me all of that you got at third base right now. You're going to see Bregman pretty popular. You're going to see Manny Machado, he's third base, I believe, over on DraftKings.com. If I remember correctly, Alec Bohm is going to be my highest rostered third baseman. A little bit too cheap up there. He's just smoking baseballs. It's really fun to watch here. But I think Schwarber leading off, that doesn't suck for an answer either. That's all.
All right.
Let's keep going. If there's one team other than the Twins that you were looking at fading that you're going to come in below the field on, who is it going to be?
Looking at our ownerships here, ownership is pretty reasonable once you get past them. There's really not a spot where I've undercut. I'm sitting on 12%. I'm matching the Philly Astros and Phillies. I guess the Rays I'm less on. Like I like Franco. I didn't end up with any full-fledged 4 or 5 man stacks. So I guess the answer would be the Rays.
Okay. Let me just refresh this. Looking at the Rays, I wanted to see how that lineup came out today. Was Ramirez in it?
Yes, he is batting 5th, but they also have Isaac Paredes, Taylor Walls, Kevin Kiermaier. These are names. And Mike Zunino, obviously, if he makes contact, it's a problem. But it's a less than menacing lineup that kind of falls off a cliff.
Yeah, less than menacing is probably putting it lightly. God, Robbie Ray. I don't want to play Robbie Ray that much.
I'm not getting huge strikeout scores, but it is what it is.
Yeah, Zunino helps. But I'm looking at Manuel Margot batting 3rd there. I mean, that's not ideal. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to boost a little bit more Robbie Ray. I mean, I was like around teens %. I'm going to get to a little bit more. I'm not going to be playing like I had 13% Robbie Ray. That seems a little low with this lineup.
Yeah, probably a little bit.
Slightly. Going through some of these other ones for the evening ones. Again, we can talk about some of the other ones. We talked about the Mets and Phillies, talked about Twins, Orioles. It looks like it's kind of an ironic spot with them because they're actually negatively leveraged here. I thought that they would end up being a team that you could get to with positive leverage. Looks like no, 7.7% ownership, 6.7% top stack potential. So a little bit lesser on that one. But I'm looking at this Miami team with Chisholm leading off, Aguilar back in the mix, Jorge Soler, Sanchez, Cooper, Garcia batting 6th. Mm-hmm. I really, really like that lineup 1 through 6 up against Nick Martinez, who is confirmed not good, confirmed oopsie on that contract. I think San Diego, we'll find out long-term, but Marlins, you said you were down with. Who sticks out to you from that lineup?
Yeah, Jazz Chisholm, obviously. And 1 through, I'm fine with 1 through 4. I'm fine. I love Garrett Cooper. Avi Garcia can hang out in the stacks here. The bottom 3 I could do without, but I wouldn't completely click him out of my player pool. So 1 through 6 for sure. Chisholm is just an elite player. It might be a little harder to get Chisholm comfortably at 5.7K, but that's a lot of implied at bats there, and it's a really, really nice matchup. So 1 through 5 is my favorite.
All right. Yeah, Harold Ramirez, we got from T McBee there, talking about Ramirez in the 5-hole from Tampa Bay. I like him a lot. I think that was kind of the one guy I was looking at one-offing quite a bit from that group. You can get a Rosarena in a 2-man game. Margot, again, batting 3rd. It's just so weird that that's going to be where he ends up there. It's just not good. It's not great. Yeah, not great at all, Bob. Not great. Anything else? There's obviously only 12 teams to stack. We could sit here and order them. You're going to have a little bit of everything if you're playing, 150 lineups or 300 lineups or whatever everybody's playing here today. You're going to have some stacks, a little bit of everything. Is there anything that's really sticking out to you with one specific team on how you're stacking and trying to get different with maybe a popular stack that exists on this slate? Because there's really only the Twins that are just massively negatively leveraged. I talked about Houston. I find them unavoidable. I want to play guys because I think some of those lefties are coming under own. Is there something that you're consciously doing in your stacks to get different with a certain team that's popular?
I guess we can go look at Houston. Something that the field tends to do is they get scared of like Alvarez or Tucker against lefties, and they really shouldn't be. But Alvarez is 14% ownership, so it doesn't look like that's resonating well for the field there. 12% Tucker, so that's usually what I look for are people are avoiding those guys against lefties. But for the most part, I think if you make the decision to forego the Twins, you don't have to overthink getting different elsewhere. Like that's a big piece of leverage to be on the other side of.
Yeah. Buxton's the only guy. Everybody's going to have some one-off Buxton. Again, he's going to be my highest owned Twins batter. I think that's going to be the case for most people because you don't get like 25 from a dude right out of the gate on this slate. But I'm pretty sure that there's not a single Twin that I'm going to be over 10% on other than that. Yeah, that's a fact. So you're true. That's very true. You don't have to get that much different with the rest, but it's just one of those things to be very, very conscious of how you're putting together certain stacks. I love what you talk about with those lefties. I talk about that all the time with Alvarez and Tucker talked about it before you did there, where it's just like, I want to get to a lot of them and it just makes all the sense in the world. People don't have those biases right on right. So it's just very ironic to me that lefties get absolutely shafted in that regard. Last real spot to talk about for me is St. Louis, because Logan Webb was going to be the guy who was fired up there, but it looks like it's going to be a bullpen game here now. A little bit different than I was looking at with Greg this morning. St. Louis has a lot of really, really good major league hitters. And I know San Francisco has some unique ways that bullpen can set up to try to get different. But with the three batter rule now at this point in time, I think it's alleviated a lot of concerns I've had as far as like for a full 9-inning bullpen type game. I want to get to St. Louis over the field as well. I think that there's just too many good hitters. Plus this kid that just hit 9 home runs in AAA, this Yepez fellow, might be very, very good. And I would like to roster him at 2K flat on FanDuel. How about you?
Yeah, I gravitated towards liking the Cardinals quite a bit, and 3.5 runs seems awfully low for them in this spot. Yeah, I could buy that against Logan Webb, but this turned into a bullpen game. And the bullpen, this opener, he pitched yesterday. I don't expect him to go more than 1-2 if they're lucky. And then looking into that Giants bullpen a little bit, guys that might be available today: Jose Alvarez, Yarlin Garcia, Jake McGee. Sam Long pitched yesterday, but maybe he can go back-to-back days. Those are all lefties. And when half your bullpen is left-handed, this is going to be an all-righty lineup. But if they're going to get task, Goldie, Arenado, Tyler O'Neill, and your boy Yepez, even Bader, like this is a really, really strong lineup. So I think maybe projection models don't know what to do with the Cardinals. I think everything about this Giants pitching staff seems absolutely average. And it's still a plus pitcher's park, but it's not like they're above average and we should be straying away here. So I do think we get an opportunity to just straight up bet on talent of the Cardinals. And they are a team that have amongst the most power in the league. And like I said, they might fall into some positive split matchups platoon wise. So I really like the Cardinals. And I also really think they score more than 3.5 runs.
I'm so with you. 145 WRC plus against lefties. That's why I'm talking about unique things that they're going to have to do with this bullpen to try to get through some of these righties. You have a murderer's row of guys at the top of this lineup that if they were in any other ballpark besides St. Louis, when it's not 100 degrees and humid there, because there's humidity, that's for damn sure. It is not a great ballpark generally for hitting. And I look at them in San Francisco. This is obviously another miserable ballpark for hitting, but you just get a team that creates so many runs above expectation against lefties. Again, 145 WRC plus, 234 ISO. That's better than the Yankees. And think about all the guys in the Yankees lineup that make lefties' lives miserable. St. Louis makes them miserabler. So there you go. Hashtag analysis, hashtag vocabulary. Anything else you want to talk about stacks before I talk about a little bit of Prize Picks, our presenting sponsor?
No, I think we pretty well covered all the bases. I because of the extreme elevated ownership on guys like McClanahan, if you are a multi-entry guy, you don't have to give up too much equity to have a couple shares of Mariners in case all heck broke loose. Pardon my profanity.
Oh yes, you swore for some reason. Again, there's just it's one of those things where I just didn't feel like swearing. Jordan, don't do that. Stuttering Stanley. I know. Oh man, that's so mean. Look at him. He's being mean to me.
What?
It's never mean to me. Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com is where you want to be playing at. Do you want NFL futures in your life? Well, you could go invest that money right now over on PrizePicks.com. Not many other places that I know of, especially if you're in California, that you could go and take advantage of certain props that exist there for NFL futures. You have USFL, you have boxing, you have soccer, you have so many things. And of course, you have MLB. And MLB is where it's at right now for today. I'm putting together a couple of cards over there. You pick 2, 3, 4, or 5 player props. You put them all together. You put them together. And what do you got? Bibbidi bobbidi boo is what you have. Gundacker, did you like that one? Probably not.
Bro, you're okay. All right,
you're
all over the place.
No, I'm having fun. fun. Yeah. We're having fun. But MLB, you put together those player props and you have an opportunity to, Mike, he came back. He's back.
Oh, God.
He's back. Just prepare yourself. I might have to do
Prize Picks. This pod you need to go check out. You can have to 10x your money with 5 player props. You have an opportunity to make lots of cash up to 10x your money. Plus, you can get 4 out of 5 right, and you can still 2x your money on the 5 player props. Gundacker, I need a lock, otherwise your life is in danger. Give me your Prize Picks play for today.
My Audi became an innie.
How are we still allowed to do shows?
I don't know. Well, I will say this: if you want my pick, we voted on the taco today in the Prize Picks Discord. Shane McClanahan has a special taco at 4.5 strikeouts. Over free money, right? Put that
instead
in.
Of Taco Thursday for Cinco de Mayo. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it does have the taco has a sombrero on it.
It does. It's adorable.
That's great.
It's an adorable taco.
Mm.
It's cute. But anyway, that's prizepicks.com. You guys need to use that. Smash the over on that. I'm going to ask for one more, Gun. So look through the board here. Give us one more play. I need one. I need winners, baby. You can't just play one. I like the McClanahan over 4.5. So well done. Way to get the community behind you and to pick the correct guy to he was going to go over 6.5, so it didn't matter to me. But nice to see that we're going to be getting this freebie here with 4.5. Mm-hmm. I need one more freebie. Help me out.
So I had Edmund at 4.5, but they moved them up to 6.5. So, but at 6.5, I'm still on board. But we don't have a whole lot of fantasy points. But I'd probably be looking for either an Edwin or I like the thought of Schwarber 6.5 fantasy points. Man, I like him to put the ball in play a couple times and send one over the fence if we can help it.
We have people saying the Saw voice is lit. I love when these guys do MLB together. Okay, maybe we can still do shows together. But also, to help you over at Prize Picks, we have MLB bets posted up on oddshopper.com. Head there now. Sign up. Well, you don't have to sign up. That's the beauty of it. You just click on oddshopper.com. You go and play any of the MLB bets that jump to the top of the board. I'm concerned with best projected win percentage because, again, we're trying to win with these bets. We have like Taylor Walls, obviously you're going to get a lot of those home runs that are unders, but if you scroll down a little bit further, there's opportunity to find some Prize Picks plays with the Prize Picks parlay builder. That is going to be something you want to utilize a lot for the NBA streets, the MLB streets. Everything's getting integrated on that interface. So use OddsShopper to help you make decisions and cards over at Prize Picks. Thank you so much to them for their sponsorship of all the shows that we've done today. And thank you specifically for giving us this free taco. That is a 4.5 strikeout number on Shane McClanahan. You have to go. Deposit, use promo code Awesemo, get $100 first match deposit bonus, plus 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum just by signing out and trying their product. It is so great. It's so fun. And obviously, Gundacker and I, we've been in the Prize Pick streets quite a bit here. It's good times. I think you'll enjoy it too. Let's go get it. All right. It is time. We've got 17 minutes left? 17 minutes. The people need to know, Gundacker, who is going yard today beyond any doubt?
Oh, man. Kyle, I just got this feeling of a bad knee with the literal storm coming through that Kyle Schwarber. Kyle Schwarber is my dude. I like him and Harper today. I don't know. Taijuan Walker has not thrown a major league pitch this year against a person not in a Phillies uniform. Little familiarity baked in. Citizens Bank Park if you're nasty, and it's nasty. So give me Schwarber, but also kind of like Harper quite a bit as well.
When you say things, it's music. It's magical. It's great. I have too much Thomas Nido. Why do I have so much Thomas Nido in my lineups? This needs to get fixed real quick. I just had 17% of him, and I didn't notice that until just now. I don't want him to be the only guy that I have as like my 5th Met. That seems suboptimal, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's probably not what you want.
Oh, that's bad. But speaking of the Mets, Pete Alonso is going yard today. So Aaron Nola is a guy that, Aaron Nola, great. Giving up 6 home runs, I believe, on the season. That's more than your average Bear. So Aaron Nola, at the same time that he can get strikeouts, I told you this Mets offense is definitely one that I want to be on top of, that I want to be getting to a lot of in my lineups. Let me double check this. It is 5 home runs here for Aaron Nola in the early going of this season. So at the same time, overlying metrics, 3.9 ERA, 0.94 whip, seems decent. Giving up some power. So so why not just take the power bat, Pete Alonso, from this Mets lineup? That's going to be my guy. Number 10 in T. McBee's home run model. That's great. Jorge Soler, his pick. I'm firmly behind anything that has to do with the Marlins today. I'm about that life. Getting everything updated from St. Louis here as well. We've got 15 minutes to go. Get your lineups in. I believe, have every single lineup in now. That's kind of brilliant.
Hey, boo.
What?
So you said Aaron Nola's given up more homers than your average Bear while touting Pete Alonso.
That is such a next level joke.
Yeah, and you missed it.
It's okay. I think it's because Mike just keeps giving us money.
Yeah. God dang it.
I spared your life in order to let you make bear jokes on a daily fantasy sports show every day.
It doesn't get better each time.
It doesn't?
No.
Not fractionally? I think it's pretty good. Well, I think I just blew Jordan's ears out. That's cool. It's chill. Chill, bro, chill. Jordan Clyde, say hi to the people. Dude, bro, chill like. Dude, bro, chill like. Just say hi.
Dude, bro, chill like. Hi, people. Like the video.
Dude, bro, chill like. I like that life. I like that life, living out there in his fancy little place, doing fancy little things. Hi to you, Ron. Hope you're doing well. But anyway, we're continuing on in our lives. I feel pretty good about that. Anybody else have dong picks too? Because I would like to see them. If it doesn't go in chat, I don't believe you tomorrow. Don't come in and say, I said Segura was going to go yard, even though he's not in the lineup. So that's a bad example. But you know what I mean. Let's just kind of get there. Oh, he is. He's 7th. Just saying, just double checking my work here at home. But anything interesting? Because again, we're 13 minutes before lock here. I'm going through San Francisco, picking out the certain guys that I want to get to. I love seeing Yastrzemski, Jock leading off here, though. That's a fun 1-2 to get to.
Yeah. Man, when Robbie Ray allows contact, it's hard. So Mike Zunino, if he can make contact, might be one of the sneakier bottom of the order swings to get behind. Might play some spoiler on a late slate. But past that, I'm not saying any names of my home run model that make me turn my head.
I would love it.
Yeah. No, it's all.
I would love all of those things. That would be great. Anything that you ended up doing specifically, what did you land on as far as exposure to the Twins? Because they are such a talking point for a lot of people today.
So I'm going YOLO, and I'm letting the field have it. That way I don't have to worry about anything else.
Just complete removal of life.
Get him out of here. Correa, bum.
Get out of here. Get over here.
40% on Byron Buxton. Come on, bro. I think he's a great play, but the math says no. What are you doing? Just gotta look the other way.
Got to look the other way.
That elite slider ground ball rate for Spencer Watkins is here.
Yeah, here it is.
And for what it's worth, pushing the left field wall back, raising the wall.
Oh, totally.
The Camden's been spoiling a lot of stacks this year.
Eric wants to see your dongs. I do want to see your dongs, everybody. Franco, Zanino. Keep it up, Eric. I am keeping it up, Mighty Saint. Thank you so much. I'm doing the best that I possibly can every single day for all of you. We got 12 minutes left to go here. NBA's back tomorrow. You're going to want to check out everything. We're back to our regularly scheduled programming, NBA strategy show, MLB strategy show, everything you could possibly want. We're going to be ready to rock. Also, if you guys are wondering, because NBA, it's been hot fire following Ben Raza and everything that he's been doing here specifically, but we've got Steve Buzzard, pretty genius. Alex Baker, more geniuser. That's probably why we're named Awesemo, his moniker. But we have the best bets package. Right now, NBA, MLB, so many different things that you have access to in the premium Discord. Check out our best bets package. Plus, at Awesemo Best Bets is going to be posted every single day, giving you guys access to free bets. Gives you a little sneak peek behind the wall. So you want to take a look at it, see exactly what we're rocking with every single day. Let me take a look here. I'm going to see if the free bet of the day is posted. And, it is. Jose Urquidy, under 4.5 strikeouts. That is the freebie of the day. Urquidy, he's about to get keyed up is what he is. I didn't have anything for it. Urquidy, that's the best I got. But plus 130 at a sports book that is listed there. Go to at Awesemo Best Bets. Take advantage of that right now because that will not be free forever. I can promise you that. The best bets, that is, on Twitter's. But check out the premium Discord because it's good times. All right, back to my baseball. I think I got everything updated for San Francisco. All right, we go position by position, my friend. Are you playing more in FanDuel or DraftKings today?
Equal distribution tonight.
Equal distribution. All right. Well, we're going to go position by position. I'm primarily playing DK. So if you want to do the FanDuel side of things and do the catcher / first base, that's always nice too. But let's talk our highest owned players throughout the positions here, starting with catcher.
You said we're doing FanDuel or DraftKings?
I said whichever one you want to do. If you want to just do DraftKings and talk through everything specifically, that's just fine by me too.
Okay. My highest owned catcher right now is Austin Nola, leading off against a lefty, allowing a 30% line drive rate.
I like Austin Nola quite a bit. JT Realmuto for me, best hitting catcher in baseball. That's going to start showing back up here again. I can promise you that. He's going to be just fine. Let's jump on over to first base. Oh boy, my guy at the top of the board, Pete Alonso. I already talked about it. It's going to happen. One-time dealer. Who's your favorite first baseman to get to?
Goldie's my top owned guy. I do have Alonso as my second owned, and Jesus Aguilar and Yuli Gurriel are holding hands behind them.
All right. We head to second base. Jose Altuve, the massive chalk. Him and Jorge Polanco are going to garner more than 50% of the position. Jeff McNeil, one-time dealer. One time. Who do you got?
Edmund and Jazz Chisholm.
I love the Edmund shout out. I think that's a guy I just boosted up here quick as I'm finishing up my runs. Third base, go.
I have Manny Machado's my favorite. He's not my highest owned. I have Bregman as my highest owned. The home run model just likes him a lot. And then Arenado had to boost him up. Like I said, the projection models don't really account for the bullpen game.
Yeah. So. No, they do not. Alec Boehm, please go yard. That would be epic. Kind of sucks because I've been enjoying rostering him in the 7-hole at like 6-7% on these type of slates. He's going to be much more popular batting second today against Taijuan Walker, but still my favorite guy to get to at the position. Alex Bregman makes a lot of sense. And Eduardo Escobar, one-time Mets, one-time on to the outfield. Give me your 3 top owned shortstop. Can't forget about hot corner. Can't forget about the
the shift. You might be all right.
The shift. Yeah, in the shift situation. Thank you. Saving my ass. That was stupid. Whatever. Shortstop, talk to me.
Highest owned shortstop. Wow, it's pretty evenly distributed. Correa was, but I think I'm just going to eliminate all twins from the player pool and take my shot. So when I do that, it'll probably be either Lindor or Franco.
Or Franco, love it.
Yeah.
Lindor, Franco, Jeremy Pena for me, always going up to the top of the board. Let me double check. Where did my Crawford exposure go? Because he's batting cleanup. Okay, I just needed to finish getting that tweaked here as well. Again, these lineups come out when we're on the show. Why not get everything done in tip-top order here so that I don't have to think about it the rest of the day? That would be great. Outfield, finish it out for us, my friend.
Schwarber, Harper, my top 2 highest owned, and now I'm falling into a lot of Yepez now that lineup's confirmed. I'm tweaking, so those are probably gonna be my 3 highest owned, which would be Schwarber 1, Harper 2, and then Yepez.
All right, well, and I've got Kyle Tucker, Jordan Alvarez. It's time for you, Jordan. It's going to be great. And Randy Arozarena, I ended up getting a lot of against Robbie Ray. I'm really looking forward to all of these bats from Tampa Bay. I'm going to try to make them a thing as well, mixing them in. Margot is going to be a little bit too popular, though, for me, I think. I'm going to undercut a little bit on him, and then I'll take the other righties in that lineup, specifically Ramirez. I like that shout out from our boy T. McBee there in the chat. Appreciate him, helping out. And obviously, just one of the best baseball minds there are. It's probably why I won $30,000 the other night. Good time was had by all. That was a fun sweat. I believe you were involved in that sweat, correct?
Yeah, something like that. I needed Brandon Crawford to homer to jump him, but at the same time, Terry's my boy, so I didn't want to jump him, but hey, I like money too, so I didn't. So yeah, Terry crushed it.
It was good stuff. Again, if you had won, I would have been extremely happy for you too. I'm extremely happy for T. McBee. I'm hoping tonight's my night. 100K up top on DK.com. That would be an enjoyable experience for everybody involved. I think I fired number of lineups in that one. I played way too many lineups today. So I'm fixing everything up here on my end. Hopefully you guys are fixing it up. Fire up any last second questions you guys might have. We've got 5 minutes left here before lock. But I'm looking forward to watching these games. I think everybody else is here as well. Let's see. Do we have anything from the chat? Urquidy had his best mood of the season so far in his last start. Compared to the other pitchers on this slate, I'm just still not going to get there in any kind of a meaningful way.
Yeah, same. I don't like. He's like 5 on my board. Urquidy, right? That's what we're talking about.
Don't fade Wander. I'm not going to fade Wander, Franco, Sean V. Come on.
Me and Sean are on Schwarber for home runs, so I have to like completely redo all my lineups.
Oh, that's really bad for you.
His hitter versus team splits are undeniable for Schwarber. So
yeah.
Yeah.
What's up? What? Oh, can I ask for likes? Don't come in here and tell me what to do. Well, actually, no, I should do that anyway. We've got a ton of you guys watching, hanging out. The best way to support us, hit that like button. Takes 2 seconds. It takes less than 2 seconds if your hand's already on your mouse. Just simply go over, hit that little like button because you love my Saw impression. You love Gundacker's reaction to my Saw impression, and you love Jordan's reaction to Gundacker's reaction of my Saw impression. That's the way that I understand it.
Yeah, that was a lot.
It was a lot. It was a lot today. But we got through it. It was a chain reaction. And if you don't love me now. Fleetwood Mac, that's the chain.
I'm not that old.
Well, easy. I'm
34.
Kidding. It's not like I was alive during prime Fleetwood Mac.
Oh, okay. Well, I forget you're of the Star Wars variety, so you reference weird stuff.
Why the air quotes?
You know why. This is awkward. I'm awkward. I'm uncomfortable.
Should be. You shouldn't smite Star Wars the day after the Sabbath. May the 4th be with you. It's just what it is. Make sure you hit subscribe button too. Nathan Joyce. Yeah, people can hit the subscribe button too, but the priority right now is getting that like count up because we got our boy Gun. If you want to see more action, more Gundacker Lindquist duos on this MLB Live Before Lock, because you can't get enough of that shit. Let me tell you right now. All of that in a bag of potato chips, we're ready to go. Hit that subscribe button. Hang out with us here quite a bit. Not feeling Gun's energy today. Everything okay, Gun? Oh, Manzo, he's trolling me. That's how this works. I think he's ads.
Yeah. If I seem checked out last 5 minutes, it's because I'm racing to get CSVs uploaded because the Giants took forever to get their lineup confirmed. But we're good now. Now I can make fun of Eric.
Kentucky Derby. I'm excited for that. You don't win the Kentucky Derby on the back of donkeys. Yeah. Ready to rock.
I'm 6'3", mister. It's a camera thing. I promise you. I don't know if I'm taller than Eric, but I'm 6'3". But I look like
6'2".
All right. So yeah, our camera angles are misproportionate. So everyone thinks I'm maybe I am Baby Yoda.
I'll finish the show like this if it makes you feel bigger. It makes you feel better.
Yeah.
How does this work? I bet this gives Jordan anxiety. So I probably enjoyed it even more. Oh no. Are you going to crop me while I'm doing it? While I'm doing the bit? Is there anybody who hates somebody more than Jordan Klein hates me when I'm doing this show? He likes me outside of it because he likes my dog, but he definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think your dog might be the reason you still have a job, man. That's one cute sucker, man. I don't know how you did it.
I gotta get lower.
Uh-oh.
Get low.
Do I get higher while you get lower? How does this? I don't know if you're on my left or my right. I was going to look down. What do we have?
This is just the worst. I'm going to finish the show with a back problem. That's what I'm going to do. We got 1 minute before lock. Excited. Shane McClanahan, get going. What is the best pitcher? I'm going to let you pick one pitcher and one hitter to be optimal tonight. Who do you want it to be?
McClanahan and Kyle Schwarber.
McClanahan and Kyle Schwarber. Give me number 2 on the list for both.
Nola and Harper or Goldie. I like Goldie quite a bit.
Satanic human being, Aaron Nola, down with the sickness. We do not need any Aaron Nola in these parts. But we're going to finish this out. How tall is Rosa? 3'3". Chris Carrot is so underrated funny. It's ridiculous. It's so good. I can tell because Jordan Klein and him go back and forth. I got to say, I know which one. I know where Jordan gets his humor from now, and it ain't from Jordan. That's for sure. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. MLB Live Before Lock was so much fun. Jordan, you're okay. Just get over it. You're fine. Gundacker, fun per usual. Really enjoyed this. Any final words for the people as we get out of here?
200 likes. Are you fake?
200 likes or you are fake. That's for sure. I'm not doing the Saw impression anymore. But Miami Mike, you're the man. We really appreciate you. Thank you to Jordan Klein with his Tampa Bay Rays hat. Hopefully that's a good omen for everything involved here for this evening. Looking forward to the baseball. Hopefully you are too. We'll be back. NBA coming up here tomorrow. MLB, of course, 13 gamer. Looking forward to that. He's Gundacker. He's actually funny. I'm Eric. I pretend to be funny, but you like me still. We'll see you guys.